winter, when nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans bound by passion, each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. Happy New Year and happy holidays to all of you watching. Thanks again for tuning into the show here on this Monday. We got an action-packed stack show, the latest in the National Football League, and of course the college football playoffs begin again tomorrow. So we'll have preview of that. Vinnie Iyer will join us courtesy of the Sporting News. In addition, Pat Evans joins us from Legal Sports Report and the latest around the National Football League with our very own SportsGrid insider, Adam Caplan. That and a whole lot more on this edition of the show. We also have one more game this week. It is Monday Night Football, and we'll have a preview of that as well. But let's begin with a little college basketball news. In this new world of the NILs, this is the first time we're seeing a lawsuit of this magnitude. 6 former players that played at Florida State University filed a lawsuit on Monday against Leonard Hamilton. He is the FSU head coach over unpaid promises of NIL compensation that total $1.5 million, and also acknowledged that they boycotted a practice last season over the missed payments. The legal complaint was filed in Leon County, which is in Tallahassee. 6 plaintiffs are players on the team: Darren Green, Josh Nickelberry, Primo Spears, Cameron Fletcher, Deontay Green, and Jalen Worley. They say that each of them was due $250,000, and essentially they never got it. We'll see what happens in the future with this story. Meanwhile, the story of the NFL season has been the rookie quarterbacks, and yet another win for Jaden Daniels as the Commanders beat the Falcons in overtime last night. Daniels threw a touchdown in overtime and also threw one at the end of the game. In fact, he's done this 5 different times this season, throwing a touchdown in the fourth quarter or overtime. 30-24 is the win, and Washington is in the playoffs. The Falcons now going to need some help in order to qualify for the playoffs, which would include Tampa Bay losing next week. But the star of the show, once again, was Daniels, who's closing in on his first playoff appearance.
My emotion won. I'm tired right now, but I'm excited. I'm happy. The fan base waited a long time for this. I really can't put into words, how much it means to them and how much it means to me. Be able to go out there and lead this franchise and this team to opportunities like that.
You had some success in the 2-minute drill. The overtime was a little bit different. What was that like, just before the overtime? What's going through your mind, and what was it like in that drive?
God blessed me again, gave me another opportunity to go out there and try to win a football game, just like you did last week. it's a lot of ups and downs and adversity in this game that you go through and you go through in life. So you never waver. You stand tall, stand 10 feet down, and, go out there and try to execute the moment.
Still a couple of weeks away from Daniels' first playoff appearance. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Vikings, it could be a few weeks away, depending on how things work out for them next week. But let's recap last night as they beat the Green Bay Packers. Ended up being a closer game than what we thought, 27-25. In fact, Minnesota led this game by 2 touchdowns late, but Green Bay, as they have done several times this season, had a furious comeback to make the game closer. Another huge game, in fact, a career game for quarterback Sam Darnold in terms of passing yards. What a season he has had on his way to potentially the NFC North title. In fact, the Vikings will play the Detroit Lions next week, next Sunday night, for that title. Here's Kevin O'Connell on winning games at home this season.
And very proud of our guys. And it was so important to us this year to get back to the way we should play at US Bank Stadium. So to finish 7-1 in front of our fans and have that kind of atmosphere in a game like this is why we do what we do and love the support of our fans. Thought it was phenomenal tonight, as always. It was huge for us, and our team thrives off of it. So now we get to go on the road and have a chance to compete one more time. That's all we ask for, is just another new week, new challenge. Really, really one of the best teams in football all year long. We got to go to their place and roll it out there for 60 minutes. So we're going to put our work in this week and try to find a way to go 1-0 this week.
Meanwhile, the Packers will not be winning the North, but they will be in the NFC postseason. But maybe the Packers would like to start off a game by not being down 2 touchdowns. In fact, that's kind of doomed them at different points this season, according to their head coach, Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, it obviously bothers me. I just think that you can't get down against good football teams. And if there's a lesson there, that is the lesson, because it's tough to come back. I think our guys continue to fight and battle and scratch and claw, but ultimately we just can't put ourselves in a hole like that. And it certainly took us way too long to get going offensively. And if that happens, then, this is the result.
Packers will be headed toward the playoffs. We'll see where they're headed next week. Meanwhile, the New York Giants were headed directly toward a collision with the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Folks, they gave it away yesterday. There is no tanking in the NFL, clearly. 45-33, they beat the Indianapolis Colts. Colts have now been eliminated from the playoffs, and the Giants may not get the number 1 overall pick in the draft as a result. Meanwhile, will Brian Daboll, their head coach, even be around for it? He's not even sure.
Do you think today was evidence that if you get consistent good quarterback play, that you as the coach are the right person to keep leading this team?
Yeah, I understand the question. I'm just happy for the players and the coaches right now to get a win, and I'm happy with Drew, how he played. I'm proud of him. It wasn't great last week. I was on him pretty good, but he's a mentally tough guy, and had a good week. And again, now we got to do it all over next week.
The New York Jets are in a similar position to the New York Giants, although the Giants will have a better pick than them. Jets lost again to the Buffalo Bills. The final was 40-14 on Sunday. And also the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took out the Panthers 48-14. They win next week. They capture the NFC South. The Miami Dolphins are still alive in the playoff hunt. Ugly game yesterday. Cleveland couldn't get anything going offensively. Miami wins by a final of 20-3. Meanwhile, Saquon Barkley is taking aim at the all-time rushing record. He's got a shot. He ran for 167 yards yesterday as the Eagles rolled the Cowboys 41-7. Barkley is now over 2,000 yards for the season.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Just being a fan of the game and the running back position, to reach a milestone and put myself up there with 8 other backs that I respect, and some of them I grew up watching, definitely means a lot. But at the same time, I wouldn't be able to do that with this team. And like I said, you can't be great without the greatness of others, and I'm just happy I was able to be a part of the team and be able to reach a milestone like that.
Want to shout the record?
The way I look at it, if it's in God's plan, then it is. If I'm not overly trying to go get it. I'm not scared of it. Like I would love to, but at the end of the day, also we got bigger things that we're focusing on, and we're able to clinch the division right here. And whether it's we play next week or not and rest, I'm fine with that too, because I didn't come here and sign here just to rush for 2,000 or break a record. I want to do something special, and meaning special with the team.
Eagles will have that chance. The Raiders are ending their season, it looks like, on a high note. They beat the Saints on the road 25-10, and the Jaguars beat the Titans 20-13. Jacksonville right now has the number 2 overall pick in the draft. Meanwhile, the Bengals stay alive. They beat the Broncos 30-24. Great game on Saturday, by the way. Also, the Rams beat the Cardinals 13-9. They clinched the NFC West. The Chargers clinch a playoff spot. They beat New England 40-7. And San Francisco is playing on Monday Night Football tonight. The Lions are 3.5-point favorites. At the Pop-Tarts Bowl, Cam Ward had a great first half. Didn't play in the second half. Miami lost the bowl game 42-41. That was a hot topic this weekend. BYU beats Colorado in the Alamo Bowl, and that final was 36-14. Nebraska wins the Pinstripe Bowl 20-15, and UConn takes care of North Carolina by a final of 27-14. One bowl game today. It is the Music City Bowl, 2:30 Eastern. We got Iowa taking on Missouri. Missouri's 2.5-point favorites, and the total is 40.5. Also over the weekend, Corbin Burns agreed to a new contract, $210 million over 6 years with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Teoscar Hernandez is back with the Dodgers. Josh Bell back with Washington. And we'll be right back with Vinnie Iyer next.
In the heart of winter, when nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans, bound by passion. Each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why?
Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back. Vinnie Iyer with us, courtesy of Sporting News, to recap the NFL. We'll also take a look at some of the stats in some of the games as well. Vinnie, thanks again for coming on NewsWire. Great game last night. Once again, good weekend of football, by the way, in both college and pro. The early games were, a little lackluster. I think that's fair. Later games, much better. Commanders in overtime get the win. They get the cover against the Falcons. Falcons played very competitive. Let's give them credit as well. But Washington, certainly Vinny has proven to be that team. If it's a close game in the end, they can easily win.
Yeah, they're going to be dangerous in the playoffs. I don't care if they're the last seed. Right now, they actually moved up to number 6 ahead of Green Bay. So that could set up a matchup interesting against the Rams, right? Or you would also think they have a shot here to win a second playoff game. I think they're that competitive in terms of just having Jaden Daniels. They're with their offense every week, and they know what they're doing. They have a solid game plan. And defensively, I think Dan Quinn just extracts the most out of that group, even though they have a lot of weaknesses, and they're going to play some good timely defense and get to the quarterback at times when they need to. But when you look overall, Jane Daniels, when you have a quarterback of that level, you're going to have a shot in every game going to the playoffs, and they proved that they're good on the road as well. So that's how they would have to get there. But I would not want to face this team, and I think they'll also be prepared to tune up pretty well in Week 18 against the Cowboys. They want that game after losing the first one. So I'm sure they'll have some good momentum going to the playoffs as well.
Yeah, same with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They've been hot. Vinny keeps scoring points. Almost another 50 for them yesterday. Their offense has been fantastic. They beat the Panthers 48-14. In years past, Vinny, Bucks, blow these sort of games, but they don't seem to be doing that this year. They win next week, they're in.
Yeah, I think you would think they're going to be in. I mean, the Saints have showed little life the last couple of weeks against the Raiders and Packers, so you figure the Buccaneers should be all over that game, and the Falcons are also having a walkover there. They know that against the Panthers at home, so the Bucs are going to come out firing. They don't have to face any of the Saints defensive players that have given them problems in the past. Mike Evans is going to go for that 1,000 yards as well, but it's been other guys doing it. Bucky Irving, Jalen McMillan, two good-looking rookies have really come through for this team of late. And Liam Cohen should be a hot coaching name everywhere. I mean, he's going to get 40 touchdown passes out of Baker Mayfield. We thought last season was good for Baker. He's even better this year in a different offense. So the Bucs, it's unfortunate that they might have to be playing a short stay in the playoffs, but you look at it, their resume is pretty good. They've beaten the Commanders. They started with them in week 1. They beat the Lions. So this team could beat basically anyone in the field if they get hot.
And I would say the same thing about the Eagles. They've also finished this season much different than last year, Vinny. 41-7 the final. Saquon Barkley over 2,000 yards. That was the story. By the way, their third-string quarterback looked pretty good too, I would add. I wonder if that guy earned himself a spot based on next year. What do you think? You think the Eagles give Barkley a shot to break the record? It seemed sort of non-committal, I thought, post-game.
Yeah, they need to be very careful here because your goal is now winning in the playoffs and getting to the Super Bowl and winning it with Saquon Barkley. And it's hard, right? You may not have Jalen Hurts out there again. He could be cleared from concussion protocol, but there's no reason to play him when you're locked in number 2. Do you really want to play Barkley? I know he's motivated because it's the Giants on the other side. He would love to break the record against that team of all teams. But is it the smartest decision when you're going to have a tough first-round game? We talked about all these other teams, right? Commanders, Packers, Rams, Buccaneers. These are the bottom of the NFC, and you take the Lions, Vikings loser. I mean, you are in for a grind in the playoffs. I think you want to take every opportunity to rest, especially if you can do so when you don't have that number 1 seed in the lone bye in both conferences.
Yeah, now the Packers and Vikings, a completely different story here. Very strange set of events here as the Vikings win and can win next week and win the division, but yet the Lions are playing tonight. It's like sort of a weird scenario. But next week is definitely a big playoff game, and that they move that game, Vinny, to Sunday Night Football, which makes sense.
Yeah, it's unfortunate if you were on the Lions side this week and you had some things you needed in fantasy. They might step off the gas a little bit in this game because it doesn't mean a whole lot to them because it still comes down to who wins the last game, not only for the NFC North, but to take the number 1 seed, right? So I don't know how much the Lions want to use that. I mean, then you think they could earn rest by winning next week's game. But I think they'll be a little bit careful tonight. I mean, it's a tough road game in San Francisco. So I think the 49ers playing for a little bit of pride here. So I wouldn't feel all that great if you needed a lot out of the Lions from the betting or fantasy side tonight. Because, again, Dan Campbell's smart. He's going to assess how it's going and may, for a change, not step on the gas pedal with his team as he usually does.
So would you take the points tonight, Vinny? Maybe an under in play here? Let me see. Under 50.5. 49ers plus 3.5.
Yeah, I would lean that way. I'd also lean toward the 49ers. I mean, they're still a formidable team that can score a lot of points. The Lions' defense is in a bit of shambles, and the 49ers have actually been very tough on quarterbacks of late, so this could be an actual tough outside road game for Jared Goff.
All right, Vinny, enjoy the rest of your week, and Happy New Year. We'll catch up again soon.
All right, thanks, Craig. Have a good one.
All right, Vinnie Iyer, courtesy of Sporting News. Coming up next, it's time for the Sports Grid Sound Off. We'll hear from Sean McVay. We'll also hear from Joe Burrow. But first, let's hear from Mario Cristobal on the decision that Cam Ward or the Hurricanes made to not have him play in the second half.
Mario, when did you and Cam decide that he would play a half, and what did you view as the pros and cons of having Cam Ward play the first half and Embry play the second?
Well, I think all meetings with players and decisions like that, we make them in private and we keep them in private, so I'll defer not to answering questions as it relates to that. But I know he played his best while he was in there, and certainly Emery tried his best as well. Like Jalen said, we were rushing the ball really, really well, and just came up short.
A lot of people asking the question why Ward did not play in the second half of that game, the Pop-Tarts Bowl. No one really has a definitive answer. Some say perhaps the Hurricanes knew about this beforehand. Others are saying they did not. It certainly would have been very easy for the head coach just to say exactly what the thought process was, but post-game at the very least refused to give any definitive answer. Maybe in the coming days we will find out. Needless to say, Cam Ward still going to be one of the top picks in the draft coming up next year. All right, let's take a quick timeout. The Sports Grid Sound Off is next. Don't go away.
In the heart of winter, when nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans bound by passion. Each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why?
Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The Rams are in, the Bengals are not, or at least not just yet. And what can we expect tonight in Monday Night Football? It's time now for the Sports Grid Sound Off. Very strange that the Rams ended up winning the division not yesterday, but last night as a result of the percentage of common opponents. Strength of schedule is what ended up giving the Rams last night the division in the NFC West, so congrats to them. We know for sure the Rams are in. Meanwhile, they didn't play all that well against the Arizona Cardinals, but the optimism is certainly there, and the Rams have been there before under Sean McVay, who's certainly happy to get any kind of win he could.
What a great job by our defense. We really talk about making them snap it one more time, and I thought that was on display tonight. We got some key and critical stops. Unbelievable blocked extra point by Michael Hoyt earlier in the game. And then for Akello Witherspoon to be able to come up with that interception, that we were going to come after him, brought a zero blitz right there. And the guys executed in a big way. Offensively, there's going to be a lot of learning opportunities for us. I thought, they made the drive when they had to be able to go up 4 points. Would love to have punched that in for a touchdown. But they did a good job. You give Arizona's defense credit. There wasn't nearly good enough overall execution. That'll always start with me. But I was proud of our football team finding a way to win the game. And we've done that in a variety of different ways. For our defense to hold them scoring-wise the way that they did, incredible effort. I thought we had some really good rushes. We were able to get some pressure on Kyler. There's a couple times where he was able to escape and make some plays. But we made enough plays to be able to come away with the win, and those are things that we certainly are not going to take for granted. And I'm proud of our football team. A lot of respect for Jonathan Gannon and his group.
Most exciting game played on Saturday, without a doubt, Cincinnati Bengals, Denver Broncos. This thing went right down to the wire. And in fact, the Bengals probably thought they won a couple of different times. A missed field goal forced this thing all the way down to the limit. One of the more entertaining games of the season, but really doesn't matter. Joe Burrow, all he is right now is about the playoffs. They'll need a win next week and some help.
Yeah, it felt like we had won it a couple times and, weren't able to close it out. And then, I think we found ourselves in that spot a couple times this year. And, as an offense, we didn't go close it out ourselves. Tavy did, and so that felt good.
Mentally, what's going on in your mind when it's like that, where it feels like it's about to be over and you won it, and then you have to reset?
Yeah, then the way the season has gone, deep in your mind, felt like you had won it, but, crazier things have happened. And so, I was just trying to stay calm and put my mindset in the right place to go and have to do it again. And then again, so happy we were able to do it.
They finally get that win over a good team in a game that's been back and forth the whole way. Earlier in the year, a lot of these have not gone your way. I feel like this team has now kind of turned a corner, and if you guys get in, you're going to be able to hang with anyone.
We know we can hang with anybody. It's we've proven that this year. We've played every single team close, and so it's just about making the plays down the stretch to win those games. Today we did. Last 4 weeks we have, and we got to continue to do it.
And I would guess that Burrow's a good play next week in fantasy and props and everything else that the Bengals try to get their way in. The question is tonight's game with the Detroit Lions having to beat the Vikings next week. Does this game mean a ton for them tonight at San Francisco? Who will play? Who will sit? But obviously they want to come out with a win. Here's our very own Joe Madden previewing the game tonight, Lions and 49ers.
Monday Night Football will feature the Detroit Lions taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the 49ers a 3.5-point dog at home in this one, total of 50.5. Well, I love a home dog. Those home dogs haven't been cashing for us this season, and the 49ers have struggled with so many injuries, now out of playoff contention. This team is still playing for some pride, but I do think versus the Lions, versus this defense, they will struggle to put the points on the board. I'm looking at the San Francisco 49ers team total. That's coming in at 23.5. I will be playing that to the under. And I do think Dan Campbell will have his team ready to come out nice and strong in the first half of this game. I'll lay the 2.5 with the Detroit Lions in the first half. Remember, they've got a big matchup next week versus the Minnesota Vikings. That will determine who gets that top seed. So we will see what happens next week with the Lions, but I do think they come out strong. First half, I'll lay the 2.5, and I'll expect their defense to show up for this full game versus the 49ers. Give me their team total under 23.5. You guys all the best in all of your bets. Back to you, Craig.
Thanks very much, Joe. And of course, our team has you covered all night long for the final Monday Night Football game of the season, regular season, I should say. All right, coming up next, Pat Evans joins us from Legal Sports Report. We'll dive into the latest stories and also recap some of the biggest stories from 2024.
In the heart of winter, when nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans bound by passion. Each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why?
Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Pat Evans is back with us from Legal Sports Report. It's time to recap the year in news in sports betting in 2024. You can also read all of Pat's columns over at LegalSportsReport.com. Pat, great to have you back here on NewsWire. I mean, we did have, I would say, a plethora of stories to talk about, as we always do throughout the year. I guess maybe the unfortunate part was not more states being legal. I think that's probably a good place to start, but you never know. 2025 is around the corner. Maybe some new states jump in the fray.
I mean, yeah, as we've talked about throughout our time as a show, you know, the states that were going to get it done early got it done. And since then, you know, like you said, this year was very dry in terms of legislation action. Of course, Missouri ended up getting passed through on the ballot. So that was good for Missouri and I guess the industry as a whole. But the last couple of years have been really slow, to your point. The states, you know, the low-hanging fruit's gone. Now we're reaching up into the higher branches. And all these states that we're going to talk about here in a minute are just kind of been slowly chugging towards legalization eventually. I think a lot of states, there's a few, you know, like Utah that will probably never, or, you know, in 2100 or 2100 and whatever you want to call it. But, you know, the states that we're looking at really closely this year will be Minnesota. I mean, that's one that the last 3 years has come very close to passage. You know, the legislative makeup in that state is why we're kind of in this limbo area. Earlier this year, we had the you know, quote unquote, you know, finish line deal that just barely couldn't get passed, which I've been told was, you know, kind of exaggerated. And it changes a little bit now because last year the Democrats controlled both chambers and the governor's mansion. And they want, of course, tribal exclusivity for sports betting, which the tribes are a very powerful Democratic force and, you know, have a lot of say up there. The Republicans want the horse racing tracks involved. Now the Republicans control the Senate or the House, and the Democrats control the Senate. So now there's this kind of split kind of chamber. So is it going to be this deal that almost got done this year again to roll into it, or are we going to see just new power dynamics shift everything up there? So that's going to be really interesting to watch. I don't even know where to peg it right now. I mean, we've seen a couple bills filed. Everybody says they're willing to talk and compromise, but, you know, when push comes to shove in politics, that's a big leap. Down in Georgia, another one of these states that we're very close on the last couple of years. Last year, the Senate kind of took the reins and said, hey, this is what we're doing. There was a good bipartisan push. But then a couple senators came in and said, whoa, we want a constitutional amendment. You can't just put it under the lottery. That made a couple senators drop off because, that requires even more votes. And then it also requires a ballot initiative to get it over the edge. And so then this year now, we've seen senators saying this has to start in the House before we consider it. But if they get it through, then we'll take it up. So Georgia has been a political mess, as we know. I don't know if it's a mess is the right word, but it's a political battleground. I mean, you just look at 2020 in the presidential election, and then this year, which again, this year it went from Biden in 2020 to Trump in 2024. And we've seen a sports betting sponsor come out with an op-ed who said, hey, the voters who swung this state back to Trump, they are big time sports betting demographics. We need to get this done because clearly the voters in our state want it. So those are the two states I think we're looking at closest to probably get something done. We haven't seen a bill filed yet in Mississippi to go online. They, of course, have in-person sports betting. The last couple of years, they've had bills filed to allow it to go statewide mobile. We haven't seen that filed yet, but I wouldn't be surprised. And it's always a good chance there because they already have sports betting. So that would be a big expansion, though, down there.
You think Texas is one of those states that we could see some activity this year?
There will be lots of activity in Texas. This is the state that the entire industry has their eyes on. It, of course, is a giant market, loves their sports, lots of professional sports teams, lots of big names pushing for it, including Mark Cuban, Tillman Fertitta. The Sands Corp is now involved in there. Jerry Jones wants it. The problem is you have a big name in Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick who does not want gambling expansion. So that is the big hurdle in the way. We know that Mary Adelson is lobbying a lot of money this year into the political framework down there, including Dan Patrick, hoping to kind of swing votes. Will that happen? Who knows? I mean, a lot of people are putting it because they meet every other year to 2027 once Dan Patrick is termed out, which that's a long time in the world, but it is a huge market, and the industry will not stop working on this down there because it is, we've had estimates come out saying it would be the largest handle market, which of course would also generate lots of revenue. So the industry really wants it. We know there's been a couple bills filed already. I'm sure there will be even more. It'll be interesting to see what happens in 2023. It did pass, a sports betting bill did pass the House. So you could almost think that it will do that again unless they just see the Senate as an immovable object and they don't even want to put effort into it. But you'd like to see something happen there. And if it does get in the Senate, maybe there is a groundswell movement there that kind of maybe puts pressure on Patrick. Again, will be seen, but this is a state that, to your point, will have lots of activity, lots of eyeballs on it, and something we're going to talk about a lot in 2025.
All right, let's close it out with West Virginia, new operator of the VIP kind here. Pat, tell us more.
Yeah, this was a really interesting story. I think, we talk a lot about kind of the industry and what's happening in terms of operators. Of course, FanDuel and DraftKings are the major players. You've got your second tier of, BetMGM, Caesars, Fanatics, ESPN, Bet, what have you. Bet365, and then kind of these kind of more niche operators. VIP Play is a new one, quote unquote, but it is actually active in Tennessee right now as 24/7 Sports, which is, of course, just an online-only market. So it's just a little online sports book. The company is coming out, rebranding. They've got a new partnership with a provider to create a new, and they promise, better app, including online casino, which is why they're entering into West Virginia, which, of course, is one of the few states with online casino. Again, we'll see what happens. These niche, I think when you're looking at the market of sportsbook operators, at some point you're going to find these operators that are going for smaller markets and just making their little piece. And I think that's probably what VIP Play is doing. They did say this is the beginning of a North American expansion, so I would expect a couple other states to launch, or maybe even Canada. Who knows? I guess they're in full plans. But yeah, it's kind of like, last week we talked about Kentucky getting Prime Sports, a smaller sports book focused on sharp bettors that can get lots of bets down without worrying about a limit. Very similar to Circa, which is also kind of slowly rolling out and expanding their footprint. And those are the operators, I think, that they're not too concerned about taking a massive amount of handle like the FanDuels and the DraftKings, and they're just going in and getting what revenue they can and thinking, okay, we'll make what we can, and we're not too worried about being the major player. See what happens, over the next couple of years in terms of that second tier of operators that, some of them are struggling in markets to gain a market share that might be worthwhile to them for how much, marketing spend they're doing or how much their overhead is. So yeah, VIP play, certainly keep an eye out on them in your state if you do have a legal market, and they might be coming to you soon.
It could, Pat. So what are the big New Year's Eve plans for Pat Evans and Evans family this year? Let's leave with that as your final show with us here this year.
Yeah, it's true. Just I think going out to dinner and probably fairly early and just coming back and watching New Year's Eve programming and probably some football, I would imagine. So really, really calm, maybe some champagne. How about you, Craig?
Maybe some champagne. At this rate, it's going to be a nothing for me based on the way things are going right now. But anyway, thanks again for coming. Story for a different day. Thanks again, Pat, for coming on NewsWire. Really appreciate it. Have a great new year, and see you again in 2025.
Yeah, I'll see you next year, Craig.
All right. Adam Caplan joins us. Don't go away.
In the heart of winter, when nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans, bound by passion. Each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why?
Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Road management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Adam Caplan is with us, our SportsGrid insider covering the National Football League. We'll recap what we saw yesterday and also move ahead to some of the big games coming up this weekend. Adam, once again, happy holidays. Thanks again for coming on NewsWire. Really appreciate it. We got some good games this weekend. I know most of them were bad, but the ones that were supposed to be good lived up to the billing. Saturday in particular with Denver and Cincinnati. We'll get to that in a minute. Falcons, Commanders. My gosh, that was one that it really could have gone a number of different ways. And I know that everyone's talking about the Falcons today and some of the time management, et cetera. But let's start giving credit to Washington. Like every single game it comes down to the end. Daniels makes a play, and more times than often they win. Now, I don't know if that's a recipe to win, 5 more games per se, but it's definitely a recipe to make teams think twice about wanting to face you.
Yeah, there's no question. Washington has been a phenomenal story. I know you've liked them all season. You and I have talked about this on NewsWire, but you're talking to the Commanders actually over the weekend. I think if you read sort of what people say to you privately and you try to translate what it looked like, I think they would tell you that they're kind of ahead of schedule. They weren't quite sure. They knew they had a great feeling about Daniels, but Craig, the roster overall, it's going to need some work in the offseason, but the coaching has been fantastic. And you know what has really helped? Dan Quinn's positive vibes. It's just you go into a building with the stench of what happened with Daniel Schneider. Yes, you have a new owner and Josh Harris and his group who are in their first full season of ownership, but getting someone who's so positive like Dan Quinn, it's kind of like when Doug Peterson, Craig, came into Jacksonville. They shocked the world in his first year, and we know since then it hasn't been as good, clearly. But they needed that. They needed a change there. There's no question about it. And this is the guy to do it in Dan Quinn. And but, Craig, when you have a quarterback, when you know you have the quarterback, it makes things so much easier. It's not easy, but it's easier. And you've seen that, particularly in recent weeks. And last night, when they needed him to get the job done, he got the job done. Because quite frankly, their defense kind of collapsed late, and that was a little bit troubling.
Yeah, and that could be an issue in the playoffs, although they are now down to 14-1 to win the NFC and 32-1 to win the Super Bowl. I made it clear from the beginning I thought the Super Bowl was far-fetched. But again, you can do some hedging along the way. If you take them to win the NFC, I mean, the number's not even what it was. I believe it was like 30-1. Now it's 14-1. But, we'll see what their first-round matchup looks like. That will determine it. Meanwhile, the Packers right now have to be scratching their heads a little bit. Not that they lost to the Vikings, Adam, but the fact that they were down so big in this game and had to come back again. It's like the same story that we've seen with the Packers several times this year. I mean, I am convinced they are a good team. I'm not really sure what I'm going to expect to see from them in the playoffs.
So, Craig, if you look at their schedule and you look at the teams they've lost to, the Vikings twice, okay? Both games, quite frankly, were not close, and then they had to make it close because they were getting blown out, and their lack of urgency in both of those games. You see that both Lions games, okay? It did not play well. So you look at the two of the elite teams in the NFC, and they didn't play that well. In fact, I would argue that if you look at their talent level, they should be better than they are. They're really loaded. But for whatever reason, and we saw this last year in the playoffs when they blow out Dallas in Dallas. And then after that, they weren't as good. They just don't always play at their talent level. That has been the word around the National Football League for many years under Matt LaFleur. A good coach, by the way, much better regular season coach than playoffs. But for some reason, they don't seem to get it done when it really matters. And by the way, they're most likely, high probability they'll be playing in Philadelphia against the Eagles, a team, by the way, that they lost to in Brazil in Week 1.
Broncos-Bengals on Saturday. That was the other exciting game of the weekend.
Yeah.
Bengals thought they had this thing a couple times, missed a kick. The game kept going. 30-24 was the final score in that one. So Cincinnati is that team that's been hanging around. But I don't know, Adam. It seems like time is sort of running out, especially given the fact that Denver is going to play Kansas City this week.
I know.
And if the Chiefs starters don't play, I would take the Broncos. I would assume at home the Broncos will be favored to win and probably win. And I don't know what that says, about Kansas City, Adam. I mean, honestly, I understand their plight, but it is a division game. It's going to upset some people. But this is the reality that for the Bengals. They got so far behind at the beginning of the season. They got to look in the mirror. That's the only one to blame.
Yeah, a lot to unpack here. So let's start with the Chiefs situation. I highly doubt Andy Reid's going to play starters. There's no reason to do it. They've locked up the number 1 seed. That's why you have the bye, the only NFL bye. Now, I know talking to Andy over the years, particularly when he was in Philly, he would always tell me that my job is to get my players to the next round, right? That means don't play them. But when you're off for such a long time, you worry about that. Because think of it. Let's assume the starters don't play in Week 18. Then they don't play the first week of the playoffs because they're off. Mm-hmm. You're giving them a lot of time off. That you're always concerned about rust. You might remember when Tony Dungy was the Colts head coach and the controversy about him resting starters, and everyone blamed them for having a bye and then resting starters in the first game of the playoffs they wound up losing. So you do get concerned about timing and all that. But getting back to Denver, yeah, that was an unbelievable football game. It never seemed like it could end. If it was a playoff game, they'd probably still be playing. It was just one of those games you just couldn't believe what you were seeing. But yeah, Cincinnati, the problem, Craig, is their defense. Their defense under Lou Anarumo has taken a big step back this season. Joe Burrow is not going to get any votes probably for MVP. I vote for Pro Football Writers Association awards in 2 weeks. He's going to be right up there, though, for my offensive MVP or just offensive player of the year. How could he not? I mean, what else could you ask this guy to do? He's been incredible.
Yeah, closing in on 5,000 yards. I mean, who does that in the NFL? No one is the answer. All right, so tanking in the NFL, we just assume teams are, and then a game like yesterday happens, and we realize that these are grown men with something to prove, and things are very unpredictable. Now, the general managers, as you know, Adam, can put the teams in the positions to lose, but that's not going to stop the players from trying to win. Giants beat the Colts. They knock out the Colts from the playoffs, and maybe themselves for the number 1 pick.
Well, and obviously it'll go down to this week, but it doesn't help them. No, you actually said it correct, but I'll take this one step further. Coaches and players do not tank. The guys making the personnel decisions will try to tank sometimes. No matter what they tell you, the results will tell you when you start benching players that shouldn't be benched. That's when you know it's come from up top. That has nothing to do with the coaching staff. And the Giants now, Cam Ward, by the way, we'll talk more about this going forward on NewsWire and Coast to Coast, but Cam Ward's the best quarterback for this draft. I don't care that they had this agreement. He wasn't going to play in the second half of that ball game. It will not matter one iota for him to be the top quarterback taken this coming draft back in May. There's no question Ward's going to be that guy.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think Cristobal should have at least explained that, though, Adam, after?
Yes, we should actually. Well, it would have been nice if he's not going to talk about before the game, but yeah, I agree.
All right.
In the heart of winter, when nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans bound by passion. Each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Tanner McGee had a game to remember yesterday, and he ended up getting a football back for it. I'm going to explain about that, why he ended up losing a football, getting it back. Also a proposal on the field yesterday as well in Washington. And Scottie Scheffler, best golfer in the world. When will we see him next? Not as soon as you think. Time now for some last licks. Yesterday is one of those days to forget for A.J. Brown, but he did make it right. What do I mean? Well, During the game, Tanner McGee, who is the third-string quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, entered the game. Played great, by the way. Threw a touchdown pass to A.J. Brown. Nothing unusual, except for the fact that Brown took the ball and threw it into the stands. Now, that ball didn't mean much to A.J. Brown. This guy's caught, 75 touchdowns, 100 touchdowns over the course of his career, or he'll end up doing it. But for McGee, it was his first. So he didn't realize it and then had to give it back. So on social media, he posted a very funny comment, which we have to post here. Somebody suggested to him that he's going to lose his game check for having to give it to the fan to get the ball back. It was not the case, indeed. The fan did the exchange. There's video of it afterwards. A.J. Brown took his jersey off. He threw it into the stands. The fan threw back the ball, and everybody was happy. Now, this is not unusual. If you remember a couple of years ago, Pete Alonso did the same thing. Pete Alonso threw a first base hit into the stands as well and had to apologize for that afterwards. But A.J. Brown, very funny comment, I thought, yesterday. That would be a lot. His game check is like a lot of money. And this is the third-string quarterback in the National Football League, so not worth as much. Okay, the Commanders won yesterday, and they had a celebration afterward. How about this? Their Pro Bowl safety, Jeremy Reeves, ended up proposing to his longtime girlfriend, Michaela Worley, right after they clinched the wild card against Atlanta. The most fascinating part of the story here is Reeves was asked, if he would have done this had they lost the game, and his answer was no. So pretty funny here that the win led to him getting down on one knee and proposing. And honestly, I don't know what Michaela Worley, she got down on one knee too. It was kind of funny. But either way, really nice event happening last night. And to see that happen this time around the holiday season almost like drives home the point, how awesome it is to see these sort of great moments happen in sports. Well, we end with a moment that was really not so awesome. And this is for the best golfer in the world, Scottie Scheffler. Scheffler was just having his standard Christmas dinner, which of course happened just a few days ago. And the PGA has now released a statement as to what happened during the dinner. Why is Scottie Scheffler not playing the Century this coming week? Well, here's why. Small glass fragments remained in Scheffler's palm, which he tried to open up a can, which required surgery, or a glass, excuse me. He was told that he will not be back to 100% for 3 to 4 weeks, which means that he's going to have to withdraw from the Century this week, and his next scheduled tournament is the American Express. Wow. All right. So what are the lessons here? I mean, for July 4th, I know the lessons. Be careful with fireworks. Maybe you could say the same coming up tomorrow on New Year's Eve. But who would have thought an injury on Christmas Day would even happen? Scotty, like, what's going on here? Got to be a little bit more careful, I would say, going into the holidays and coming out of it as well. Needless to say, this won't affect his season at all. These tournaments that happen in January, not even close to where we are as far as the Masters are concerned, or some of the bigger ones as well. So we'll see Scotty back on the course very soon. All right, that will do it for our show today. Want to thank Pat Evans from Legal Sports Report, and also thanks to Vinnie Iyer from Sporting News and Adam Caplan. Here's our lineup coming up later today, which would include the Monday Night Football game preview show, in-game live Pro Football Game Day and Pro Football Today, and Pro Football Today postgame. So from 7 p.m. all the way through 12 a.m., we have you covered. Now at 3 o'clock Eastern, Scott Farrell is Coast to Coast Live. He'll preview tonight's game and also the college football games that are coming ahead of us. We've had one college football playoff game tomorrow between Penn State and Boise State, and then game time decisions is at 6 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you tune in to the grid. And also, again, want to thank our director, Luke, and for my producer, Frank, I'm Craig Mish. Those of you who are out there and want to download the SportsGrid app, you've never heard about it, this is the first time, take out your phone, scan this QR code, and you get access to all of our insight and get the edge on sports betting as well. Make sure you catch us. It's an amazing way to learn more about our company, the schedule, and a lot of the personalities that we have here, by the way, at SportsGrid. 2:30 p.m. Eastern, the first bowl game and only bowl game of the day, Missouri 2.5-point favorites against Iowa in the Music City Bowl game, total of 40.5. We'll have coverage of that game and a whole lot more coming up later this afternoon. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Keep it locked here to SportsGrid. See you back here tomorrow for our next edition of the show. Have a great night, everyone.